Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. If you've been watching my videos over the last year or so, you know that I've been spending time talking about the larger economy and the impact on comics. Specifically, I've spoken a lot about the impact of inflation on the values of comics. And if you think about it, if people are spending more of their disposable income on food and gas, then that means that they have less money to spend on comics. And that, of course, has a detrimental impact on the value of comics. And we've actually seen a noticeable downturn in the value of a lot of comics. Not the market necessarily overall, not every single comic, but there is a noticeable downturn in a lot of books that have been hot over the last couple of years. Now, here's the interesting thing. Things are potentially going to get worse. Stay tuned. So a lot of you out there have probably assumed by now that I'm going to be talking about the economy in this video, and you are right. Some of you think that I may be talking about a recession when I talk about things are potentially going to get worse, but I'm not. I'm not actually talking about a recession. I am instead talking about stagflation. And there are folks that probably think that I just made that word up, but I didn't. It is a legit thing that has a definition. And essentially, stagflation is the intersection of a stagnant economy, stagnant economic growth combined with high inflation mixed with a little bit of high unemployment. And to be honest with you, a recession would be preferable to stagflation. And I say that because the pain that is associated with stagflation is actually worse than that of a recession. Stagflation also lasts longer than a recession. So a recession would be a welcome thing versus potentially what we are going to get hit by with stagflation. The good news is that we haven't really seen this since the 70s, but there is a possibility that that is exactly where we're going to be if the inflation rate isn't kept under control by the Fed. As you would imagine, this is not necessarily a good situation for comics. I have to make the hard turn because I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of economist, because I'm not. Hopefully I did get everything right in the first part. But as you would imagine, this does not necessarily bode well for comics. You still have high inflation. You have a stagnant economy that is not growing. You have high unemployment. That's just not a good situation at all, just generally speaking. So it can't necessarily be a good thing for comics. So this really isn't a woe is me type of video, because I don't believe that all is lost. One of the great things about comics is that we actually have tangible things, right? That we can still read, collect, and otherwise enjoy. But potentially, we also have a wonderful alternative form of investment. I was reading an article recently that highlighted that potentially having one's investments tied up in either cash or stocks isn't necessarily the best thing in a stagflation economy. But tangible things like golds and silver, real estate, and also commodities are better places and better vehicles to hold one's investments. Other articles that I read also cited that things like art and wine are not bad things either. But I would add to that list by saying that comics over the last couple of years have become a respectable alternative form of investment. And so if art and wine can be considered hedges against stagflation, I think that comics potentially could be as well. So if you have great comics in your collection, now might not be the time to sell them. Now might be the time to kind of batten down your hatches, but then also potentially strategically picking up really awesome books that you've always wanted. And you can add those books to your collection potentially for less money than you would have a couple of years ago. And if you go into that with the intention of holding that book long term, you might actually be in a great position when this stagflation economy reverses itself. Because the reality of the situation is that good times don't last forever, but neither do the bad times. Moreover, I would say that if you really want to succeed in the good times, if you can thrive and survive in the bad times, you're going to be better positioned for when things turn around. Again, I wanted to put this video out there, hopefully to kind of make us all a little more knowledgeable, a little more savvy about what is happening outside of the world of comics and collectibles, and recognizing that those things absolutely impact our hobby. As always, I definitely want to encourage people to leave their thoughts behind. Maybe I stated something incorrect in this video. I definitely want to hear that. Maybe you agree with some of the things that I've spoken about. I definitely want to hear that as well. But as always, I definitely encourage you to leave your comments behind. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.